6 years is a virtual eternity when it comes to the fast-paced world of cycling tech. So for a brand such as Canyon to avoid changing the bike such as the Aeroad for that length of time means it must have been a good bike. But now the new Aeroad is here. Put the two frames side by side and the most obvious difference is in the tube profiles. Whereas the old Aeroad was all stick thin and slender, this new Aeroad is all about muscle. And this is most obvious in the rear quarters of the frame, where the seat stays and the seat post are most definitely more aerodynamic in terms of their shapes. Canyon's set development goals for the new Aeroad also included reducing the weight of the bike, modern integration, adaptability and increasing the comfort and handling when compared to the old machine. Of course, Canyon will tell us that this new Aeroad is faster than the incumbent machine. Well, and it doesn't take a genius to see that this is probably the case. It's all sleek lines and integrated cables, so it should be faster. According to Canyon, the original Aeroad just went through 3 sessions of computational fluid dynamics, so effectively 3 prototypes before it got to the point where they were happy for it to go on sale. Whereas this new Aeroad has taken 22 different prototypes, 22 different computational fluid dynamics processes to get it to this shape we can see. And it took Swiss-sized CFD engineer 4 months straight to get to this point. However, this isn't the fastest frame that Canyon could have produced. That was apparently Geometry 19, and this is not it. Geometry 19 had way more aerodynamic shaping. However, when you go back to the development goals of the new Aeroad, Canyon was not happy that it was going to be comfortable enough or have the handling of a bike that they thought was going to be the new Aeroad. Yes, and of course, for you data heads out there, Canyon has obviously produced a set of numbers which tell you exactly how much faster this new Aeroad is compared to the old model. Now, they're doing it in terms of the reduction in drag. So compared to the old frame on its own, this is apparently 7.4 watts of drag less than the old Aeroad. If you then put in a rider's body, so Canyon have a very special pair of carbon aero legs that they use for testing, and when you put those on, there's a 4.4 watts difference. So there's 4.4 watt reduction on the new Aeroad. Canyon obviously had weight and stiffness goals in mind when they came to the new Aeroad. And of course that magic UCI 6.8 kilo limit was definitely up there when it came to building this bike. In terms of stiffness, it was all about increasing the stiffness in the bottom bracket and the head tube, and of which the down tube is the most important point. So this is the area that they focused on changing the most. In terms of the overall weight, Canyon has brought in a very new high-end top CFR model to reduce the weight as much as possible. Now this is the one that they introduced recently with the Ultimate, and it now sits above the SLX, which used to be the lightest carbon frame that Canyon produced. Well, what does this all equate to? Well, the new CFR Aeroad frame, the new top-end frame, is reportedly 168 grams lighter than the existing CF SLX Aeroad frame, which is the top of the range frame at the moment. That's for a medium frame. Now, we've actually got a medium bike and a large bike in, so we've weighed these, and the medium weighs in at 6.87 kilos. And this large frame weighs in at 7.17 kilos with the Dura-Ace power meter, bottle cages and Garmin mount on here as standard. So they're pretty spot on in terms of what they wanted to achieve. One thing that has changed about the new Aeroad frame as well is the geometry. Not a huge amount of difference, just a tweaking of the stack and reach, just to kind of keep it in line with the Ultimate, which is the all-round race bike that Canyon produced. So it's slightly taller and slightly shorter in terms of the frame, but only by a few millimeters. And again, it's designed to make it slightly more usable for more people. So it's not just about hardcore racing. One of the other changes of the geometry, which is for the better, is the chainstay length. So on the original Aeroad, they had very, very short chainstays, which is great for the handling. It's 410 millimeters. But when they brought out the disc brake version, they obviously had to extend those, which made the handling slightly different. Now for the new version, they've been able to go back to those short 410mm chainstays. So the handling on this should be better than the existing disc brake Aeroad. There's some other really cool features on this bike that I really like. So if we start first of all looking at this section here, this is the new cockpit, the CP0018. Sounds great, doesn't it? But it's brand new, it's lighter, so it's helped to reduce the overall weight of this bike, but it's got a very clever trick up its sleeve. If you look underneath, there are some bolts. And guess what you can do? You can widen or narrow the handlebars now. So these are fully adjustable handlebars, which make it way easier to live with and way easier for you to actually play around with what works best for you. So if you want a nice stable position, you can widen these, or if you want a more aerodynamic position, you can narrow them. On most models, you're looking at a bar that will take you from a 39cm width to a 43cm width. So it's really good, and it's clever on Canyon's part because it means traveling with this bike and living with this bike is a lot easier. So instead of obviously worrying about a one-piece system, you can take off these sections. The two bolts are solid, take them off, and then obviously for transport, it's way easier. So I think it's a really good little system here. So one of the other things that Canyon has done is they've actually gone old school. They've gone back to the old style quill stem system rather than a normal steerer and stem. So what this means is it means you can adjust the height of your front end without needing to cut a steerer tube. So you've effectively got two parts here that slide inside each other, and then you can adjust the height, take spaces out or add spaces depending on how you want to ride. So you can really work out what position works best for you. Again, another clever system, and very clever for Canyon to integrate it here. Another thing that Canyon has done here is they've introduced a new aerodynamic seat post. Now, normally when you bring in a more aerodynamic seat post, you reduce the compliance on this particular part of the frame. Not very good for your comfort. However, what Canyon has done is they've created a clever shape to this seat post. So on the surface, it looks like a normal deep aero seat post, but inside it's actually cut away. So it cuts down to half of the width down here, and the clamp is further down, so all the way down here. So inside, you've got a section which is completely empty, which allows the inside part here to flex, which should, in theory, increase the compliance. Now, my one query with this is obviously here, this whole section here is very important for aerodynamics, so they haven't been able to produce a cutout. So it does still stick in with this same shape. So this part of me thinks it's a great idea, but whether or not it actually brings in a lot, well, we have to ride it a bit more before we can work that out. Talking about compliance, one of the other things that Canyon has done here is they've changed the tyres. So we've got asymmetric tyres. So if we come down to the front, what we've got here is we've got a 25mm tyre and a narrower rim. Now this is done for aerodynamic sake, so obviously that has more aero benefits. But if you come down to the back of the bike, what we now have is we have a 28mm tyre and a wider rim, which means you can run it at lower pressures, better grip, and also more comfort. One other thing to note about the new Aeroad is the range of sizes available. So there are 3 different frame options, going from the entry-level SL through the SLX to the top-end CFR. And in those top 2, the CFR and the SLX, there are 7 frame sizes, from double extra small all the way up to double extra large. But when you go down to the entry-level SL frame, they introduce another frame size in, a triple extra small, which allows riders of less than 1.50 m to sit and ride an Aeroad. What this new size also brings in is a difference in wheel size. So the triple extra small and the double extra small comes with 650B wheels. So that's all Canyon's words for this bike. So what you really want to know is, how does it ride? Well, the good news is I've managed to have this bike for a couple of days and I've done a little bit of riding on it. So around about 16 hours of riding, and it's good. I think you knew that it was going to be good because the original Aeroad is a very, very good bike in all areas. The new Aeroad takes it that one step further. So we are definitely talking about a bike that's one of the fastest bikes that I've personally ridden for a long time. It's stiff in the right places, and sprinting prowess is probably one of the best sprinting bikes I've tried in a long time. This part's the ride that I feel very, very engaged. The descending prowess on the bike is very, very good. And the ability to actually change the width of the handlebars is, I loved it. I actually loved it, just experimenting, because it's amazing how much it can actually change how the bike actually handles. So personally, I found the middle setting, the 41 centimeter, to feel the best on the bike for myself. But one of the other things as well with this bike, because Canyon is a direct brand, you can specify what length stem and effectively the width bars that you want to go for at the point of sale. So that's a really, really good option. Now, in terms of comfort, this is one area that aero bikes tend to be going now, is a bit more comfortable, a bit more usable. And that's the same that can be said for this particular bike as well. Obviously, going to a 28mm tyre at the back is always going to bring an extra level of comfort. The way it rides, though, as I said, it is very good. As with a lot of aero bikes, climbing prowess isn't the same as if you're on a proper lightweight climbing bike. It definitely does feel like you need to sort of sit down and spin in a few places, but the fact that this bike weighs just over 7 kilos definitely helps you to get up those steep hills. Where I live, there's a lot of hills of over 20%, and this wasn't too bad on those. You know, it's always going to hurt on those sort of things, and this certainly didn't feel like it was holding me back. 55mm depth wheels make it incredibly fast on the flats, but you do have to be a bit aware when you're descending in lanes where there are gaps where wind can get through. And one thing I did feel is that the DT Swiss wheels on this bike do catch the wind quite a bit. But then we need to talk about the value. So this particular bike, this is the Aeroad CFR, and it comes with a Dura-Ace Di2 group set with power meter and DT Swiss 1100 die cut wheels. So its top end kit on here retails at just under £7,500, which obviously is a huge amount of money. But when you compare it to other brands that do similar bikes, it's actually a bit of a bargain. So the Merida Reacto Team E that I tested recently, effectively the same level of kit. So it's got a Dura-Ace Di2 group set with power meter, but Vision Metron wheels, same depth. That retails at £9,000. So Canyon has it beaten when it comes to value. There are more expensive models than this in the range. So it goes to just under £9,000 for a Campagnolo EPS spec'd bike with Bora deep section carbon wheels. But overall, Canyon still represents good value for money when it comes to overall bike for buck. In total, there are 8 models of the new Canyon Aeroad available, ranging from prices from £3,300 all the way up to just under £9,000. They are available to order now, and obviously being Canyon, they are a direct market brand, so you order directly from them. So I've got the new Aeroad CFR on test now, so I'll be bringing you my full thoughts on this bike in a review in the near future. But until that comes out, thanks for watching, and if you've got any comments about the new Aeroad, or you already own an Aeroad, please put it in the comments section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with our latest releases. But until the next one, we'll see you soon.